Previously on Sailing Tela Ru, we brought y'all with us for a beautiful day at sea, where we sailed from Tarragona, Spain to Benicarló, Spain. During that sail, we wanted y'all to feel like you were out on the water with us, giving you the exact sights, experiences, feelings, and even tastes we were having while on our sailing passage. We spent the entire sail checking in with you every hour, showcasing everything from the sunrise, morning coffee at sea, setting our sails, relaxing, changing our destination, eating, passing other vessels, and even the visual change in geography as we approached our new destination. In that video, after arriving to Benicarló, Spain, we had a super unique field trip right down the road, a stunning and iconic castle in the nearby town of Pensacola, where we revealed a connection Sean has to that castle, as well as his side piece that sort of ties everything together. If you missed it, it's definitely worth the watch. But here's a glimpse of what's to come in today's sailing video. We'll be heading out into some rolly seas for one of our last stops in Spain. We'll be addressing the topic of if we miss life in the USA, we'll sit through a storm, and Sean will be surprised by a bourbon find he wasn't even on the hunt for at the time.
Score, score, score.
We'll have some boat neighbors that bring a refreshing feel to our stay in one of our last stops in Spain. Welcome back to Sailing Tela Ru. For today's leg of our circumnavigation by sailboat around the world, we are sailing the coastal waters of Spain. And we're currently 34.7 nautical miles into our sailing passage today, with approximately 35 nautical miles remaining until we arrive at our destination this evening. And this is how the first half of our sail has been going for us today. As we exited the marina in Benicarló, Spain, into the darkness at sea around 4 a.m. in the morning, it felt like routine to be heading out into a choppy sea state. Since we've been sailing the Mediterranean for almost a year now, we've come to realize that this is a very normal sea state for the area. And for us, since the clock is ticking for our next sailing chapter to soon begin, sitting around and waiting for the potentially perfect window to set our sails would have been a mistake. More on that a little later in the video. One of the biggest lessons we've learned about sailing the Med is that all the different weather forecasts are more of a guide, and that since the weather changes so frequently and suddenly at times in this area of the Med, going off the predictions of the weather forecasts is more of a best guess than a firm forecast. Unlike our sailing experience when we sailed across the North Atlantic Ocean, where the weather may stay the same for days on end.
All right, y'all, we're underway. We've got rolling following seas right now, but we are passing the beautiful little town of Pensacola. I always get that confused with Pensacola, Florida. We're passing the awesome former Knight Templar Castle, Castillo de Pensacola. We enjoyed our tour and visit of that yesterday. It was truly amazing to walk around the former Knight Templar Castle. And the camera doesn't do this justice at all because it's doesn't film at night, but it's just truly magical seeing all of the lights. The hillside of this little town with all the houses lit up on the hillside. It's truly magical to be out here at night looking at this. Sometimes it's hard to find the words to convey to y'all on screen what we're actually seeing here live on board, but this is the magic stuff. This is the awesome beauty of doing this thing that we do traveling around the world.
We currently have about 19 knots on the true wind speed. Sean pulled out the main. He is working on getting the staysail set up. It's still dark, so I don't think we're going to do the gentle one. I think we're going to do the staysail. Lots and lots of wind this morning.
Well, y'all, dawn has broke. It's overcast, so there was no beautiful sunrise. Running pretty much downwind. The apparent wind angle's about 170. We got the mainsail sheeted out to port, and we're making pretty decent speed in that little simple configuration. We're doing about 5.5 knots. We've got following seas and the wind behind us, which is perfect conditions to be headed on down the coast today. It'd be a holy hellacious beat going the other way. You'd have the wind and the waves right on the nose.
y'all have been caught up on how the first half of our sail has gone for us, just a quick little update. We are going to be stopping this evening at our 11th marina of 2024, or our 14th stop of the year, because we have stayed in a couple of anchorages. Our Mediterranean sailing is soon to come to an end. We are soaking up every last little stop along the way.
All right, y'all, just giving you a little mid-afternoon update. We're running downwind. We got our mainsail out on the wing to starboard. Wind angle's about 165, 170. And wanted to show you in particular our preventer setup. Normally I would run the preventer line to the midship cleat, but thanks to my good buddy and sailing mentor John Kretschmer and his captain's arm crew, I learned a much safer and much stronger technique of running your preventer line all the way forward to your front cleat. Now John's system's a little more complex. He runs it through some rolling blocks and back to the cockpit to a winch. But for my basic purposes, cleating it off up front, and the other most important thing about this whole setup is to make sure you've got your preventer line attached to the very end of the boom. Don't attach the preventer anywhere near the middle of the boom. Attach it all the way out on the far end or the clew end of your boom and bring it all the way forward. Super strong, super safe way to prevent your boom when you've got it hung out like that. So just wanted to show y'all how we roll. Now it's about time for some grub.
For lunch, we're having some leftover tater salad. We have officially arrived to Valencia. We are in our slip. We are super excited to be here. I think we're going to be here 5-ish days, something like that, before we move onwards to our last few more stops in the Mediterranean before completely leaving the Med. Anywho, we are going to just get the boat a little bit tidied up and take Delilah girl for a walk. Remember how earlier in the video I mentioned that it would have been a mistake to sit and wait on the potentially perfect weather window or sea state to set sail? Here's the proof. Had we waited a few more hours or even a day, we would have been caught out in this Mediterranean storm. But instead, we were comfortable and secure in our slip in Valencia, Spain, watching the lightning and listening to the thunder rumble, and feeling very thankful that we went with our gut to leave Benicarlo, Spain when we did.
All right, y'all, here we are. It is another Cockpit 30 here on good old Tela Ru. And I'm excited today because I'm going to try a pour of something I've never tried. This here is Jack Daniel's Triple Mash Bottled in Bond. Now, if y'all watch our channel, you may have heard me talk about Bottled in Bond before. What exactly is Bottled in Bond? Well, y'all, for Bottled in Bond, the whiskey must be from a single distillery, from a single distillation season, and it must be stored in a federally bonded warehouse for at least 4 years. It must be bottled at 100 proof. And if y'all know me, I like my 100 proof bourbons. Now, what exactly is Jack Daniel's Triple Mash? Now, they say that this here Jack Daniel's Triple Mash is a blend of 3 different ones of their bottled and bond whiskey. 60% Jack Daniel's straight rye whiskey. It's 20% Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey. 20% Jack Daniel's American malt whiskey. Y'all, I must tell you, I'm not a big rye whiskey fan. I know that's kind of a popular thing these days, maybe in the States that I hear, but I'm interested to give this a shot, see what it tastes like, even though it's 60% rye, so it's got me curious. Distiller's tasting notes. What's good old Jack Daniels say about this here triple mash? Well, the distiller's notes, they say, on the aroma, they say it's got dried fruit, oak, and toast. On the taste or the palate, as they say, it has honey sweetness, underlying grain spice, and dry oak. And on the finish, they say that it is well-rounded with hints of browned bread. Well, that sounds pretty doggone interesting to me, y'all, so let's pop this cork and see what she's about. Here comes the pop, y'all. I definitely get the dried fruit that they talk about there on the nose. I don't really get the oak and toast. I think that's what they said was dried fruit, oak and toast, but definitely get that dried fruit, maybe a little hint of that toast. Now let's give her a pour and see what she tastes like. Still getting that dried fruit on the nose. Maybe a hint of that toast. Let's give her a taste. Cheers, y'all, to your health. I definitely get the spice. I get the spicy grain. I don't get any honey. They talked about some honey in there. I don't get any honey, but I definitely get that grain spice. Let me give her a second sip here and see what she tastes like. Second taste. I still get that really strong underlying grain spice, which makes sense. 60% rye. On the finish, it's a little bit light for me. Again, I'm not a professional, but just a little bit light for me for the 100 proof, which this is 100 proof, but the finish just a little bit light for me. Overall, I'd say this is a good, interesting alternative. If you're in the mood for something besides your old standbys, this might be good. Now, I can't tell you that I'd sit around and sip this all the time. What I can tell y'all, that what's coming to my head, I really think this here might be a really nice mixer. I bet you put a little Coke in here, a little Jack Triple Mashing Coke. I bet that might be spot on. Or fix you one of them Manhattans or something like that. I guarantee you this will do the trick. Anyway, thanks y'all for coming along for another Cockpit 30 on good old Tela Ru and sipping a little Tennessee whiskey. All right, y'all. We were not even bourbon hunting. We stumbling around. We went into El Corte Inglés. They have a nice grocery store down on the basement floor. Decided to come down here and see if they had any bourbon, because y'all know love to sip some good old bourbon on Tela Ru. Walked in and almost couldn't contain myself, y'all. Feast your eyes on this. They have Evan Williams bottled and bond. If you watch any of our previous videos, I tried Evan Williams that we found in Barcelona. It was excellent. That was the regular proof stuff, not the 100 proof. This is 100 proof bottled and bond. Score, score, score. Gotta have it.
One of the things we've never addressed during our videos is if we ever miss home. We loved our life in the USA, but our journey around the world, sailing alone, just the two of us, keeps us busy and on our toes. It's pretty easy to stay present and in the moment, soaking in the cultures and all these constant new experiences. So to answer the question of, do we ever miss home? For the most part, the answer is actually no. However, there are moments in grocery stores or out in public that we don't understand a single word being spoken, having to use apps on our phones to translate the packaging on our groceries, to even understand what we're purchasing. And moments like this do occasionally give me personally a tinge of missing the familiar. I say all this to say that everything happens for a reason. I honestly didn't know how much it would mean to me to meet and have conversations with someone from back home. So after a few days in Valencia, realizing our sailboat neighbors right across the dock from us were from the good old US of A, y'all, it was refreshing to have daily conversations with them. And it came at just the right time to give me a feeling of familiarity. So shout out to our awesome boat neighbors in Valencia, Rand and Anne. This is one of those stops along our journey of sailing around the world that left me feeling refreshed, refueled, and super excited for our next sailing chapter. I didn't even know I needed this refresher, but it clearly came at the perfect time since our sailing around the world adventure is about to take a turn. But we'll be discussing and sharing that in a future video.
All right, y'all, here we are in beautiful Valencia, Spain, and we are on the prowl for some good old Kentucky bourbon. We have made our way to this place called Bial's Cash and Carry, and they're supposed to have a good liquor selection, so let's get in here and see what they got. Well, y'all, down here, they do have your basic Jim Beam, your Jack in the Black, Jack Rye, original Maker's Mark. Not bad. Typical price here is 28 euros. Jack Tennessee Fire. They do have the Jack Triple Mash. I gave a sample of that and it just wasn't my jam. Might be a good mixer, but that's not what I want to sip on. They got some Bullet. Up here, they do have the Blanton's. They got the Blanton's Gold and they got the regular Blanton's. And if y'all watched our previous Barcelona haul video, you see that we scored the King Ding-a-ling of Blanton's. We got the Blanton's straight from the barrel-proof Blanton's. Interesting stuff here, not so much. I don't have a Maker's Mark, so I may get this Maker's Mark just to have one. This Redemption bourbon I've never had, never tried. It's MGP, nothing against MGP, but they're not distilling their own. They're getting it from Indiana MGP and mixing it. So I don't know, y'all tell me if anybody knows anything about Redemption bourbon. Is this good stuff or not? Says age not less than 3 years. It's 86 proof. Looks a little light. I prefer places distill their own, but could be a really good find. So y'all let me know in the comments if I screwed up or not, or if this is good stuff. May or may not get a Maker's Mark. We'll see. Don't have one on board, but we're gonna browse around and see what else they have. All right, y'all, not a major score, but we did get some good old wax top Maker's Mark. Good solid everyday sipper.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's sailing video. If y'all want real-time updates, the ability to message with us directly, and access to all the exclusive content we post for patrons only, click the link in the top right-hand corner to connect with us over on Patreon. We sure hope y'all enjoyed coming with us today on our sail. Remember to like this video, share it with someone who loves adventure as much as yourself, subscribe, and leave us a comment below. And we'll see y'all next time on Sailing Tela Ru.